So when I was 6 months old, me and my family, we moved to Singapore. We lived there for about 2 years. My mom used to take a lot of videos of this city, and I would always look for MBS in those videos because, I didn't know that MBS was built recently. It's amazing how Singapore has evolved as a city. And if you think about it, Singapore has little natural resources. It's all man-made. And if you think about a lot of the other global economic hubs in the world, you think of Dubai, you think of London in the early days, a lot of it was powered by the ports and the sea systems. You think of Singapore now, it's a $560 billion economy. But if you look at the fundamentals, there are three things that makes it possible. There's capital coming in, there are people in the city that make use of the capital, and then there are exports. I want you to think of Solana in the same way. Solana, famously has been born twice. We've had our problems, we've overcome them. There's $12 billion locked on this ecosystem. We have about infinitely many devs with 100 plus projects building with more than 1 billion volume. And there are 400 billion plus transactions. The President of the United States launched a token on Solana. That's how relevant Solana has become to the financial industry globally. But there's one thing that I want to highlight to you in terms of, if we go back to the Singapore example, the British trade routes through the seas is what made that possible. That's what we do at Wormhole. Wormhole is essentially an interoperability protocol. We help users come to Solana. We help devs build on Solana. If they're on any other ecosystem, we can get them here. We work with so many different institutions like BlackRock, Apollo, Van Eck, Securitize. All of them want to come to Solana, and Wormhole is the way to do it. Year to date, I showed you the TVL metric. It was about 12 billion. Year to date, all time since inception, Wormhole's brought in $12 billion worth of volume to the Solana ecosystem. One thing that a lot of people, this cycle don't know is that Wormhole was actually the first token bridge between Solana and Ethereum. This is like way 5 years ago. And we have expanded ever since, it was first a token bridge. Now we do so many different things. I want to take you back to the Singapore example of the import-export analogy I gave you, and we'll walk through how Wormhole adds value to the Solana ecosystem and how everything is an internet economy and how interoperability is the way that we connect it through. We'll start it off. All right, new users. Wormhole's connected to 40 chains. We bring new users from 40 different ecosystems. We are integrated with all the major stablecoins. All-time volume, Portal, which is our dedicated front end, has done about $55 billion in volume in total, with all these stablecoins topping the charts. And it's not just stablecoins. If you look at other assets, if we think about what actually builds an ecosystem, there's huge volume for ETH, Bitcoin, and other Bitcoin derivatives on Solana as well. We help with liquidity. We have a standard called NTT, which stands for Native Token Transfers. Think of this as like franchisees, all right? Let's go back to the Singapore model. When Singapore was establishing itself as a financial hub, a lot of the banks from the West came and set up shop in Singapore. Now think about NTT in the same way. If you have a token on Ethereum, Avalanche, Injective, XYZ other chain that Wormhole's connected to, you can come to Solana. This isn't just limited to stablecoins, governance, RWAs, meme coins. Any token, anywhere, come to Solana. On-chain activity. Through NTT and Token Bridge, which is our wrapped bridge, we've been able to bring so many different assets to Solana. Now, let's think about this from the Singapore example. These banks came in, they set up shop, but then what do? They incentivize borrowing and lending. They help businesses set up, they give out loans, they help people open savings account. Similarly, these assets powered by Wormhole help build the Solana economy and enable new opportunities for what people can do on Solana. We got Doge on Solana. We got BIDO, which is BlackRock's fund, tokenized on Solana. We have USDS. Surprisingly, the week when USDS was transferred over to Solana, They did over 500 million in volume, which was crazy. It was a week and a half for us, definitely. The render guys as well, through Solana. One thing that I do want to mention here, we talk about imports right now. One thing that I also want to highlight, and this is something that we won't, there's not a dedicated slide for it, but if you also think about exports, with Singapore, it's like fish, it's flowers. But with the Solana ecosystem, it's the sole token itself. Historically, we've seen people want to hold Ethereum and Bitcoin wrapped versions or some derivative on different chains. With entity-powered Solana, we are now seeing demand for people and other ecosystems wanting to create Solana markets. So there's probably a lending market on Avalanche. There's a lending market on Polygon, for instance. This enables Solana's reach to expand beyond the Solana ecosystem. One thing that we say a lot within our team is, Solana devs are notorious for not wanting to go anywhere else other than Solana, but we believe that the token should live everywhere. You should want to build liquidity everywhere. Moving on, new use cases. This is probably why I put on a suit. We have become a lot more institutional since we started 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it was a couple of devs. Now we're a team of about 120 different contributors across 5 different teams. We have brought on at least 10 different big institutions onto Solana. Historically, these institutions have wanted to build on Ethereum. We're now seeing a shifting trend where they're now acknowledging the Solana ecosystem and they want to build here natively. But for the teams that have built on Ethereum already, NTT is the way to go. And these are the ecosystems that have come over to Solana using Wormhole. This sort of brings us to a new chapter in the Solana ecosystem for Wormhole. Historically, we've only been able to help with imports and exports. Settlement is our intent-based protocol. Essentially, what it means is you're able to do bridging a lot faster. The way that this protocol is essentially designed is Solana is the hub of all transactions. So let's say a user wants to go to chain A to chain B. Typically, there's a solver that helps with liquidity on the destination chain, and the solver sends the transaction chain to chain so that the user has a seamless experience. The problem with this, though, is that the solver needs to manage liquidity on so many different chains. At Wormhole, we just settle on Solana. We love Solana. We understand Solana. We understand how to build on Solana. And this is the first product that we've built natively on Solana that helps build volume in the Solana ecosystem as well. One thing that I want to, sort of soft chill to you guys is one of our upcoming products called Portal Earn. Essentially, if you think about incentivization, right? Like you think about Italy, the way that they're incentivizing people to come over and buy houses. If you think about Dubai and the way that they're incentivizing people to come over and get a golden visa. Even Trump, with the way that there's a golden Trump visa now. Portal Earn is a way for you to do that on chain. It's a way for, Solana or any assets that want to come to Solana to say, we're interested in building a market on Solana for XYZ asset, and we are happy to incentivize for it. So imagine as a user, you are able to bridge to and fro Solana, and you are actually incentivized through it. This is something that we're really excited about. We have launched our waitlist for this. This is something that's coming. We've been doing a lot of experimentation with this. This is something that's going to change the bridging game forever, and it's going to become an incentivization layer on top of what we know as interoperability today. The final thought, I have 50 seconds. I don't think it could be as clear as this. We are Solana native. Wormhole has always started off as a Solana project. We were one of the Solana grant recipients back in the day. We love the Solana ecosystem. If you're a dApp building on Solana that wants to take their token multi-chain, if you're a dApp builder on any other ecosystem that wants to build on Solana, if you're anybody thinking about anything in the crypto universe, come talk to us. The line is build on Solana, connect with Wormhole. Thank you so much.